Listen to this one and ask yourself, why is no one covering this story? There is a fake bond scam. We think. Two middle-aged Japanese men reportedly caught trying to cross from Italy into Switzerland with $134 billion in bonds. $134 billion, remember that number. It presents two possibilities, both are really bad. Either they're fake, which means people are trying to flood the market with fake cash, and it's probably a country doing that, because remember, bonds are the same as cash. Or worse, it's real, and some country, some sovereign fund is trying to quietly dump their reserves. It would have to be a country if they're real, because nobody has this much money. That is 1% of our GDP. With me now is Joe Wiesenthal. He is the editor of BusinessInsider.com. Joe, you surprised this isn't everywhere?
I'm stunned. It's a really interesting story. Either of the scenarios you suggest, real or fake, I just wish there were more talk about it. I wish the Treasury would talk about it, or some of the mainstream press would go after them for some answers.
We just got no comment from the Treasury Department. They said, we have received your question about U.S. bonds. We've received your question about U.S. bonds seized at the Italian border. These bonds are evidence in an ongoing investigation. We will not be able to comment at this time. Sorry, we can't be more help, U.S. Treasury. $134 billion of bonds. Can we put the chart up on which countries have that much? Here are the top foreign holders of U.S. Treasuries. China, $763 billion. Japan, $685. United Kingdom, $152 billion. Russia, $137. The value of the smuggled bonds, $134 billion. That's gigantic sums of money.
Either way, it's an incredible scale, whether it's a government dumping some of their holdings or if it's a counterfeit operation. It's unlike anything we've ever seen, not just in size, but also sophistication. The fact that it's this long before they can just dismiss them as being fake or say these are real.
Right. So who would have the technology to fake that? Would that be North Korea? And
I would imagine any government that prints currency could probably procure a printer, extremely high quality printer.
Right. So this would be you think only possibly a government would be able to do this?
It would be the kind of technology that you would expect only a government to have.
Okay. And if they are real, this is what people.
Well, every day the market wakes up to some news of someone in Russia or China or Japan making some comment on the dollar. Either they're getting nervous about holding it, or some days they come out and say they're confident in the dollar. But the market's completely on edge on this question: will foreign governments keep buying our debt? So if it is real, and if there is a foreign government that's sort of secretly trying to dump some of their dollar holdings, that's a big story. That really tips the story in one direction.
Apparently these bonds are old, and they come from the 50s and the 60s.
Well, that's one of the questions that makes people question its veracity. These types of bonds, Kennedy bonds, supposedly would be issued in the 50s or 60s. The reason that they were, $500 million face value bond, it's almost hard to believe that we ever issued those. Apparently the reason was, they're bearer bonds. You have to send in a coupon and collect the money. Well, if you're borrowing a lot of money, you want to have huge coupons, because otherwise it's just too much of a pain to keep sending them in. There were some reports that said the date on the bond was from 1934. That would lend credence to the idea that it's some sort of counterfeit fraud operation.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll follow this because one way or another it's not good. Somebody is trying to print mass amounts of our money, and which would be, well, our Fed's doing it, our Treasury is doing it, why not everybody? And the other is people are starting to tire of our nonsense here.